morning. At least it's morning here. Thought I would jump on here quickly while I was making a cup of tea and just have a little chat with you guys about something that's been coming up in some of my recent sessions with clients. And it's been a really fun topic of discussion, entering into those client one-on-ones because, I say to everyone when they ask, where did you really see your journey take a shift? And to be 150% transparent, it was when I got really comfortable with my own bullshit. And when I was willing to accept that 99% of what was happening or appearing to happen out here was in effect based on what was going on in here and in here. And the disconnect between here and here really is the crack in the sidewalk that we talk about. It's so crazy how we can get enmeshed in our stories, and yet the willingness to get enmeshed in our own bullshit and look at it a little more crisply and a little more clearly is equally prevalent. And yet again, another variable appearing before us, an opportunity to really explore where energy is being dispelled in our illusions. So I want to talk a little bit about this and maybe perhaps clear some of this up, because I do strongly feel that without that willingness to really get comfortable with talking about our own bullshit, it becomes a them-that game. And no one wins there. You can spend years and years and years, and maybe have in counseling work that wants to go back to that little experience or that big experience or that profound experience when you were younger, when you were an adult, when you were a teenager, all of these things. And maybe that's helpful. But is it necessary? No, it's not. And yet there needs to be a willingness and an earnestness to not just look at the shadow stuff, but look at the day-to-day stuff, the moment-to-moment stuff that we're allowing ourselves to believe that really is, if you look at it closely, self-sabotaging behavior played over and over again on the screen of life, not to harm us again, but to notice it. People come to me who have been stuck in an empty marriage for years and years and years and years. They're living in a house with another person and they don't have any experience of connection with that person. Or they're in a job that they absolutely just get up sick to their stomachs going to every day. Or they have children that appear so entitled and so disconnected from their family. Or maybe it's a whole family dynamic where you're the black wolf of the family and you're not inclusive in any of the gatherings or the experiences with those other family members. We can go on and on to what it could be. It doesn't matter. The work begins and ends right here. The buck stops here. Let's be honest with ourselves. Do you want to do what you've always done and get the same results? Or is there something in you intrinsically that says, I am so tired of my own bullshit. I am so tired of being in this same cycle, in this same type of relationship, in this same type of job, in this same type of experience over and over and over. Do you hear yourself saying, why is this happening to me? Or why is my life always so hard when I look at their life and it seems like it flows so naturally? These are all invitations, you see. They're invitations not to get stuck on what it is about them. The marriage isn't working because they're doing that. The job doesn't fulfill me because it's like this. This experience, it exacerbates me every time it arises. I want it to be like that. There's so much right here, right here, right here with the self, right here with this one. Grandma always said, when you point one finger, notice how many are pointing back at you. And I love that. And I always think of that. Just like I think of the analogy my dad used, which I don't love so much, but it works and it makes sense, which is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, one nibble at a time. That's the gift life brings us. One nibble at a time, one moment at a time, one experience at a time, one aspect at a time. Does this mean that every person in your life will be invited back to that table for a cup of tea? Perhaps not, and that's okay too. Do your cleanup for yourself. Do the looking at it, noticing it, and owning your own bullshit of the experience for yourself. Forgiveness isn't an act we give to another, it's an act we give to us. I forgive myself for every moment I was unable to forgive myself. That's the first one. The rest get easier from there. I've told you guys every video I've made, I'm not a teacher. I don't have a teaching. I don't have a platform to sell you. What I have is the ability to offer soul guidance from the experience of someone who suffered for 38 years believing every single thought that could be fathomed out there, to the point that I reached a place of thinking that I would be better off and those that I loved would be better off without me in this lifetime. And I committed the act of suicide. I returned to the same life. Nothing had changed, and yet everything had changed. So how is it possible that this story of Kelly can kill herself and come back to the experience and yet live a profoundly different life, yet nothing changed? The things that seem to have stacked up, that seem to be the encouragers or the inhibitors of committing suicide, none of that changed. That was still waiting for me when I returned to the zoot suit. So what changed? How I perceived this, perceiving that. That's what changed. That's the soul work. That's the stuff that starts to whittle down the other stuff. You don't have to sit in a psychiatrist or psychotherapist chair for 8 years to get there. It's actually not that challenging when the willingness to really look at our stuff and own it is also present. That is, in fact, the most necessary piece you bring to the table. I'm here. I don't understand this, but there's an openness to be here and a willingness to look at myself differently. That's all that's needed. That's all that's needed. I can make it about them all day, every day. I can point the finger and say, I've been miserable for 28 years because of this, or I should have left this situation X number of years ago. None of that will serve you any purpose. It's going to hurt your heart. It's going to make you suffer, and it's going to make you feel like you've done something wrong. The path is the path, and you are it. So let's put all of the victim stories go on the cart. Let's put all of the worries about what could be unraveled on the cart. Let's put all of the baggage that we've condensed into our backpack of life on the cart, and let's attach the cart to the train. Let's get this locomotive moving in the right direction. Let's utilize the energy in each of those suffering points and see it transmute to a positive energy that's lifting you forward in life versus dragging you backwards. It's not a doing. It's an undoing. It's an unraveling. It's an unlearning. But the willingness to let everything you've thought mattered go. And I'm not talking about material things. I'm not talking even about people or experiences. I'm not saying leave your marriage, quit your job. Quite the opposite. I'm saying leave those things alone right now. They've been that way for however long they've been that way. Let's focus on you. Once your mask is on securely and the oxygen is flowing and this makes a little more sense and the clarity and the filters have widened, then you can decide about those things. Right now, you're the thing that matters. You're the one I'm having this cup of tea with. You. If you feel like I'm talking to you, I am. I am you. We are this. We are all in this together. That is not just a cliche thing. I can't even fathom the idea of not putting my hand into that hole where the seed of suffering has fallen and say, I extend my hand to you. I know I'm the one that kicked you in that hole. I know that I'm the one that tried to bury it, tried to hide it, set a plant in front of it, covered it with something. I know that. But right now I'm willing to look at it again. And I'm grateful to have someone hold my hand and walk beside me, not treat me like they know more than I do, not show up like they're a guru or a master, not show up to be another disappointment in my life that says someone's going to lecture me or teach me something. I'm being so transparent. I have none of that to offer you. None of it. So if this aligns for you, if something in this is speaking to you, trust that. Trust your GPS. Trust you. Make time for you. You matter. You matter so much. If you only knew. We're hilarious, us human beings, being humaned. We think that we can manipulate this God energy, but we are that. It's hearing every conversation. It's hearing every plan, every manipulation, every attempt to sidestep it. It has no personal preference towards any of that. It just says, look at those experiences. Aren't they delicious? So if they're not feeling so delicious to you, let's look at them. Let's see them through new filters and new eyes, shall we? I'm happy to meet you and walk home with you. Take your hand and guide you. It's something we can do together. It really can look different on the other side, I promise. I hope that helps. It's a topic, again, that's been coming up with several clients, and it really is the prevalent point. I'm here, I've got my bags of bullshit, and I'm ready to look at them, and I'm ready to let them go. You're ready to do that? Then let's do it. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? Until next time. This is our good tea that we love. You are enough. You matter. Until next time, much love.